Welcome to Product Led Growth Leaders. I have a really fun guest, a really cool guest, inspiring guest on the show today. He is a very successful serial entrepreneur who has discovered the overlap between spirituality and the pursuit of success. He created Simplero, integrated platform for offering courses, coaching, and other informational products. His background was originally that of a software developer. He went through a long, inspiring life journey that brought him to a spiritual realization. And that is why today he helps visionaries find the link between their spirituality and their entrepreneurship. He is here to raise the maturity level of people all over the world. That's his mission statement. And spirituality done right, it's just reality. That's a quote from Calvin Correli. Calvin, thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Thomas. Excited to be with you, share with your
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, awesome. So let's start off with talking about, when I kind of, going through that background that you have, I'm reminded of this concept that it's important to believe in what you're building, right? So if you're building a product, you're providing a service, you should believe in it. And there's a quote from, I think it was Rework, where they said building the flip is building the flop. That's something I've always
Hmm.
remembered, where
Yeah.
startups that don't do it right, they're just like, oh, I just want to build something and then I just want to sell it versus
Mhm.
believing in it. So the sort of spiritual link between entrepreneurship uh and and spirituality, is it that? Is it more? Is it about believing in what you're doing? Is it something more, having something for yourself, being able to manage teams? Where does the rubber meet the road with this?
It's that and more. So to me, the intersection of spirituality and entrepreneurship is for sure about doing something with your business that you believe is aligned with your life purpose. Before, for me, I was on that like treadmill of like, oh, maybe this is going to be successful. Let me try that. Oh crap, that turned out to be super hard. Let me pivot over here and do this other thing. And everybody was so disjointed. None of it fit together. They were just random ideas that I thought, would be make me money. And so the realization that no, I need to find out what do I want to do with my life and start there. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to build this big business or do this stuff. Like a great example is Tony Hsieh, who was the CEO of Zappos. I think I spoke with him several times. We didn't have this conversation, but my assessment of him is that for him, it was about creating a space where people could feel like they could be themselves. They would feel at home. They would feel free to be themselves. That was the culture he created at Zappos. That's what he did with his money after he exited his first company and sold it to Microsoft. And that's the through line. I was at a party with him. He had a party bus at South by Southwest where he brought everybody together on that bus, and there are all these celebrities there. We ended up actually back in Tony's hotel room at the Hilton, which was just like a random, small, normal size hotel room, and he would just be there watching people have fun. Um, like he was creating the space for other people to have a blast. So it's that kind of like purpose feeling. It's not the thing that you're creating, but it's more like the energy that you bring to things.
Ray, do you think that this is related at all to what we kind of recognize as, I call it kind of the West Coast tech workplace, where you have ping pong tables and couches and things like that? And then you go to other types of industries that are not, like that anymore. They still have the big oak furniture, and they're very, how important is that to represent in your surroundings? Is that a key part of it? Your environment, your physical environment?
Well, to me, this is more like what Tony did was next level. If you look at the story of Zappos and the office, the culture environment, to the extent that his investors were very much opposed to it. So the point here is not like any specific office environment is right or wrong. It's what's right for you. So the way I think of the spirituality and entrepreneurship, it's the purpose. If what you're doing with your business is what not why you were put on this earth, then what the hell are you doing? Right? Because it's so much work and you're using other people's time and money and all that stuff to pursue this idea. If you don't feel that calling to like, this is why I'm here, then I think you're just missing out on a lot. And there's massive power in that, as well as staying power. You're not going to quit. Paul Graham wrote an essay titled "No Startup Ever Died Mid Keystroke." As long as you're still going, right? As long as you're still typing, it ain't dead yet. So that's what that gives you. But the other pieces are around your thoughts and your beliefs and your feelings and being in the present moment, and then realizing that everything in life is a spiritual journey. Everything in life is about waking you up to the truth of who you really are. So I call it the spiritual gym. Whatever challenges we meet in business is an opportunity to look at where is the lie inside of me, inside of my mind, that keeps me believing in this separate reality of me as this individual body, that when we actually know on a quantum level that there's no such thing. It's not reality. That's where the whole spirituality done right, it's just reality comes in.
Right. And so, when I think about maybe the number of entrepreneurs out there who realize that they need this kind of thing, have you found that to be a consistent amount over the years that you've been doing this? Has it grown at certain points in
Oh, for
time?
sure, it's grown. When I started this thinking this way in 2008, it was not a thing that people were talking about, right? Not at all. I remember Googling or going to Amazon and trying to see if I could find any books around this. Because for me, it was like a revelation that happened one day. I've been struggling with business and trying this thing and that thing and the other thing, and like none of it worked. And then I went back to freelancing as a programmer, and then the all of the projects, I had like 5 projects going, and they all just collapsed in spectacular fashion, like, lawsuits between founders and like loss of money and arguments, all that stuff. I was like, okay, God, is this, universe, life, is this you trying to tell me now is the time for me to find out what I want, rather than chasing the next paycheck? And so I sat down and I went through some questions for myself, like what did I love doing when I was a kid, or what kind of people did I love hanging out with in college, or what did I dream of becoming when I was a kid, and things like that. What activities give me energy, and things of that nature. And then towards the like after maybe an hour of that process, this is what came to me. The whole spiritual journey that I'd been on at that point for like 4 or 5 years, I'd worked with a spiritual teacher and done a lot of work. I was like, take all of what I've learned here about life, now apply to business. Instead of like, I apply this to life, but business is over here and it's separate. No, bring it together. I was like this is this is it. And then I was like, someone else must have thought of this. Like, it's so obvious in hindsight. And so I started looking for books, and I found one book that was kind of lame. It didn't really capture it. And so I was like, oh, like, wait. Later on, I discovered like Gay Hendricks has written about this in the past. It's not out in one of his published books, but he gave me a manuscript that he wrote at some point. It wasn't, I forget what happened to that book, but it's not out. And now, of course, it's something that a lot of people talk about. So it's changed a lot in the past 16 years since I started that.
Man, that's so interesting. And one of the things that I've heard you mentioned, I think somewhere on one of your podcasts, somewhere, it is that people think they want skill, but what they really want is community, connection, being seen. I don't know if you know the quote that I'm getting at
Mhm.
here. Could you maybe like elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so in my business, what we do at Simplero, my software company, is we help coaches deliver their gift intimately without burning out. And one of the things to realize for a coach is that, yes, we need to deliver the thing, like whatever it is we're coaching people on. Is it how to build a business, how to lose weight or get fit? Is it how to have phenomenal relationships? Yes, that stuff absolutely needs to be there. But the bigger contribution that we give to our people, is our clients, is that we help them raise their frequency, their vibration. Like, we help them raise their energy and transform at that level, which is a little less tangible, but it's think of it as like, who we are is pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure love and light. That's the reality of who we are. And then we can be more or less dense. We all see that, like that lady who's just, you can just see in her face that she's just like angry with life, and she's just been angry with life for 80 years, and she's still angry with life. And you can physically see it in her body, right? Versus someone who's light and who's love and who's positive, and like all of that is our beliefs and our wounds and our past traumas that are keep pulling us down. And so that's actually what's creating the problems. You think you want to lose weight, and sure you do, but the reason why losing weight is a struggle for you is because of all of that stuff. So as you peel the layers away on that by looking at the beliefs, by looking at some of those feelings, places that are wounded that we don't want to go to, then light and love enters. And now the result comes easily, and you don't care about the result anymore as much because you're already feeling amazing, right? At the end of the day, that's what we want. You don't want the thing. We don't want the losing weight. That's awesome. But what we want is we want to be healthy when we feel amazing. And then once we are healthy and we feel amazing, and actually it's easy to lose weight. And like we might as well, because like, we love ourselves.
Right. And so I was trying to anticipate some things that people might say who are coming from a different perspective. So what about some business person who's very, kind of bottom line, and they say, well, I don't care if people are fulfilled. I just want the success and call it a day. And they might think that of themselves. And I think you've already given pieces of, a response to that, like what it does to you over time. But do you find
Yeah.
that being a challenge, or what is your kind of, response to that?
The way I think of it is that they're my people and they're not my people. So some people are going to be into this and get it, and other people are not. And that's totally fine. And trying to convince someone who's not getting it that they should get it is futile. But they might experience some crisis in life where finally they're having a reckoning, and they're like, oh shit, I need help here. And then like, great, we're here. But tons of people, I met at a conference last year, I met someone was talking about his uncle, who was this, German multi billionaire who had made so much money during COVID, and he was just miserable AF. He was just like, he made so much damn money. His health was crap. His relationship was awful with his wife, with his kids. Like, his life was not good, but he had this one freaking skill, and he's going to stick with that skill come what may, right? Like, those people are there. Great. All like, go do your thing. It's just not going to make you happy. And, that's just how it works.
Yeah, I think so too. And so when we think, but here's another question. When someone says, or they're faced with the option of maybe walking a spiritual path or having an experience, um, I think maybe some people will associate success with the day-to-day rigor and the high activity and, kind of this worldly, instantaneous event by event connection that they get lost in. And they might uh, associate spirituality with more of a serene, maybe separation from that frenzy, that everyday frenzy of life. And,
Mhm.
I could see having maybe a fear that, like, okay, if I go sort of in this direction where I'm getting more grounded and more centered, will I become, like will I care less? Will I lose that hyper drive that drove me to be successful in the first place?
For sure. And that happens for sure. Hey, definitely happens, right? So to me, it's all spirituality. It's like meditation is, you get lost in thought, and then you come back to the breath or to your mantra or whatever it is, and then you get lost again, and you come back to it. That's life, right? We get lost in the drama of life, and then we come back to reality, to presence. We're like, oh, I'm here, I'm okay, I'm fine, like I'm love. And maybe we never come back to that place, but like, that's what life is we get lost and we come back. Now if you're driven by feeling not enough, not safe, not, um, worthy, whatever it is, that like, oh, I need to achieve this and then I'm going to feel okay. I need to prove myself to XYZ, all the people who did who did me wrong. Or like, I feel scared that I'm not going to have enough. So I need to accumulate a lot so that I can feel safe. What you're going to find is that it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. And so you're going to keep driving and driving and driving until you get sick. And once you stop that negative fuel, are you going to slow down? 100%. And you should. And now the challenge is to take a minute to recover, right? Rebuild your body, your immune system, your health, get out of sympathetic nervous system, get back into a balanced parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. So you're not living in stress and anxiety all the time. Get back to balance. Maybe there's a period where you go over on the parasympathetic, you relax a lot because your body really needs to rebuild. When you're stressed, your immune system is shot. It doesn't have a chance. So there might be some rebuilding that needs to happen. And then what happens is that you replace that negative fuel of wanting to get away from not feeling good enough or feeling unsafe or whatever was driving you, and you get to a fuel that is love, that is contribution, that is growth, from a place of you actually being filled up. Because that's another trap that people find into. They're like, I just want to give and give, and like they're not filled up. It's not a good place to give from because what you're giving, ultimately what you're here to give is your energy, not your thing. Back to what we talked about in the beginning. It's your energy that's your gift. And so if your energy is crapped out because you've been just beating yourself up and like you have all these stories that you're not important and you don't matter and all that stuff, and you piss away your power and you don't have any boundaries, like you're always pleasing others because you're always seeking their approval, then you're not able to really give.
Yeah, I love that. And I definitely I'm certainly not skeptical about this because I do find that, when I'm engaged in and have a meditation practice, it's easier to focus and it's
Mhm.
easier to not just get overwhelmed. You just have more control over yourself and your feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a story at all about maybe a spiritually grounded entrepreneur? You don't have to have names, of course, but who makes better decisions because of their spiritual growth, that they are, kind of take a different, maybe, uh, uh, direction than maybe most entrepreneurs or business people in their shoes would take, and that you can kind of visibly see them doing a better job because of it.
Yeah, a couple come to mind. I mean, one obvious big example would be Steve Jobs, who was very, very influenced by his spiritual journey. I remember reading, I swear to God, I read in Walter Isaacson's biography of him that, and I haven't been able to find the quote, but maybe the internet can help me. But what I remember him saying was on his deathbed, being asked if he believed in spirit, in the divine, and in like God, or however they phrased it, and his answer was, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I do. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, I don't. And Sundays, I'm not so sure, or something to that effect. Right?
Right.
It's normal. It's okay to be wobbly. Right? Like to have this fight with the divine. Do I really trust it? Do I not? That's pretty common. I have that for sure. Another person that comes to mind is Dan Martell. He's one of my mentors and coaches. I don't know if you know who he is. He's SaaS software founder and coach. He's been my coach for 4 or 5 years now, and he's someone for whom his spirituality is also front and center, and he talks about it, and I can see how it gives him a power and a groundedness that is rare in this business.
Nice. Now, how would you, is there a healthier way to describe or define the success of a company for people? I think a lot of people think of, I own a company and I want it to be a certain size, right? I want it to be 50 employees, right? Or I want to raise X amount of money and then I've made it, or a certain amount of the market share. Is there a way that we can map on some of this spiritually developed perspective as business owners to say, I feel good about my company when, right?
Yeah. The way to think about it is you're instead of optimizing for the future, optimize for today. So if you have a daily experience that is optimal for you and that is sustainable over time, then you've arrived. Like this idea that at some point in the future, all of a sudden, and then I'll have arrived, like it never happens. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So like the life is the journey. It's not the place. We all know this intuitively. We all know this when we talk about it, and then we get lost again, right? And go chasing the goal. And it's fun. It's a great game to play, just like sports is great. Like we what do you say? We hold score, we count score. What do we I
Yeah,
forget the
yeah,
in
keeping
English.
score.
Keeping score. That's what
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
looking
yeah,
for. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
English is my second language. We keep score, and that's what makes it a game, and it's fun. But we know it's not reality. We know it's not life. We know it's not what it's ultimately about. So yeah, if you have a business that's creating an optimal daily experience for you, sustainable over time, it does the same for your employees, and it does the same for your clients. Then you're in a good freaking spot.
Nice. I really love that. And so on the Simplero, this is the next thing I'd like you to kind of share with us about. I love just the tagline of Simplero helps you deliver your gift intimately without burning out. Because the burning out, for anyone listening who's like, oh, well, that sounds, whatever. Burning out is very real. Right. We've all seen people who burn out and we don't want to burn out. And as hardworking entrepreneurs, we might feel sometimes like, okay, this is getting a bit much. So I do like that brand promise of, hey, we can help you get there without the burning out part.
Mhm.
So tell us maybe a little bit about that and just about Simplero in general.
Yeah, so there's several parts to that. Delivering the gift intimately and without burning out. And those are all very deliberate and informed by experience. I think the thing that differentiates us from a lot of other people or software platforms out there is a lot of them are speaking to an audience that just wants to make money. So the person that I was 30 years ago, I was like, trying this, trying that, trying like, well, how do I make money? Like, is it foreign exchange, foreign currency exchange? Is it real estate? Is it crypto? Is it like, that kind of mindset? Those are not our people. Our people are the ones that are like, I have this thing. I figured out inside myself how to do this. I went through all the trials and tribulations and I found a mentor and a guide and I tried and I figured it out. And here's what I found. And I want to share that with the world. The hero's journey. Those are our people. Now, one of the things that it took a long time for me to realize about myself is that I'm driven by intimacy. I'm not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by like how big the team is. I'm not motivated by any of those things. I'm motivated by creation. I love creating stuff and I love to create moments of intimacy with my clients, with my audience, with my team, business wise. And it was a big aha moment for me when I realized that's allowed. That's okay. Like you can own that and be upfront with everybody about that. Like that's what drives me. All the other stuff I don't really care about. And so the mistake that I made was I went to try to grow the business and focus on the marketing and the money and there was no energy there for me because intimacy is where the energy is. Do you know, like you go to a place and there's like, it's just like you fall flat, nothing happens. And I think for most of our people, intimacy is the thing that drives them, that gives them energy.
Oh, this is great
Intimacy, the
stuff.
impact. Yeah. And then so once you have that intimacy driver, now comes the problem with burning out. Because then you want to overgive and over deliver, and then you forget that, oh no, the way that you really create moments of intimacy that makes sense is like you have to be there too. Right? If you're not present because you're so stressed out and you're like constantly overgiving and you don't matter and all that stuff, then there's no actual real intimacy there.
It made me think of a scenario where someone works hard to put on a party and there's all this stuff that is, so we need the food, we need the so, and then during the party they might be so wrapped up in keeping it running that they're not even enjoying their own party.
Yeah, totally. And you know, it's funny you say that because that's used to be me. When I would always put on parties that way because I was terrified of the intimacy because I was driven so much by shame. I felt so wrong, so shameful. I was so afraid that someone was going to notice. So if I'm just the one in the background that organizes everything and makes sure everybody else is happy, then nobody's going to notice how, wrong I am inside in secret.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of us. I think that's very common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Calvin, where can people find more about you, your writings? You're a super creator. You're all over the place. Where's the best place for people to find you?
Best
What
place is
place
go to
is?
Instagram. Yeah, go to Instagram. That's where I'm most active, posting there, sharing my clips. It's just Calvin Correli at Instagram. And yeah, go DM me there. Say that you found me on this podcast, and then um, uh, I have a video that I shot of like sort of my model of how I look at that intersection of business and the inner growth that I'm happy to share with you. So just DM me model, and I'll send that over.
Nice. Nice. Sounds good. Hope people do that. Calvin Corelli, thank you so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure. It was great to see you, Thomas. Yeah.
Likewise.